Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari leads Alain Prost in the McLaren, and then a gap of 9 points before Elio De Angelis in the Lotus. And with Murray Walker at Silverstone, we've got a new man alongside James Hunt in the commentary position, and that's Tony Jardy.
And as the cars move off for their formation lap, don't forget at the European Grand Prix last year, 5 cars were involved in a first lap accident at the S's. But now I'm going to hand over to James Hunt, who'll take you through the warm-up lap.
Thank you, Tony. And as you see, it's quite a big, long, wide run down to the start, which allows the cars to bunch, and then they go into quite a tight first corner into the right-hander. They're hard on the brakes, and look out for an incident here, because it really is quite a difficult corner to get 26 cars on top of each other through in one piece. Then we go on to the twistier part of the track. They come out of that left-hander, down a little short straight where they turn left again in third gear. Down the hill to the lowest part of the circuit, to the long, open second gear corner at the bottom of the hill, and then they start to climb and wind all their way back. So on the far left-hand side of the circuit map is where they are now, and now they're coming back. They've returned back up the hill. Very fast, quick flick in fourth gear through the right-hander. Still climbing hard up the hill. As usual, you see them wandering about around the track, trying to get heat into their tires, because it is a problem here. The weather is quite unusually cold for this time of the year. I've been walking around all day with a sweater on and sometimes having to put an anorak on to keep the cold wind out. And this is a problem with the tires, to get them warmed up quickly. Up the hill. Weaving around, just trying to get those bit of movement into the rubber, try and build up the heat a little bit. Into the final little S-bend wiggle. There's Fabi leading the field round. He's now slowing it right down because they're onto the final hairpin, and this, incidentally, is a shot of from Eno's Renault. He's got a camera mounted on the roll bar behind the driver's head, and it's the first time anybody has successfully engineered a camera to sit on a Formula One car without taking up the huge amount of vibration that is created by a Formula One car. And we will be showing you shots from that car in the race, hoping, of course, that it lasts a reasonable amount. And Fabi bringing the field onto the grid, pulling up on pole position. When all the cars are in position and stop, the red light will go on with a 4 or 5 second delay, and then the green.
Right, just quickly through the grid now, Teo Fabi in the Toleman in pole position. Alongside him at the front, you can see there Stefan Johansson in the Ferrari. In third place, Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren. In fourth place, Keke Rosberg in the Williams Honda. In fifth place, Ayrton Senna in the JPS Lotus. And in sixth place, Nelson Piquet in the Brabham. Red light is on. Alboreto was seen locking up there through the S's in the first part of that corner, but they all appear to be safely through at this moment.
Yes, that was the puff of blue smoke you saw coming off Alboreto's car, locked his brakes. Teo Fabi, incidentally, was very slow away from pole position, never really got the car moving, but so we'll have to have a look, see where he is, but I would guess he's probably dropped down to 8th or 9th place.
Into the second gear corner, the Dunlop corner at the far end of the circuit. You can see how much runoff area there is there. And there we look at the leader. It's Ayrton Senna. He's through into the lead. He's made another fantastic start. He made a superb start at the British Grand Prix. Right behind him is Rosberg. Rosberg's not going to let him get away this time, so it's a repeat of the British Grand Prix. And already. There's Rosberg making a challenge.
Yes, tremendous burst of power there from the Williams. Rosberg just simply powered past Ayrton Senna. And Rosberg is, well, Rosberg's obviously taking the other course. He's really attacking at the beginning of the race. A lot of the drivers, I think, are going to be taking it pretty carefully. Senna, I know, he's running. Here we see again as Rosberg just simply powers past Senna for the lead. I have a pretty good idea that Senna's got to be pretty careful with his tires. He's running the C compound, which is the softest race compound on his car, and he wants to make sure it all stays there.
And at the end of the first lap, it's Rosberg in the lead, Ayrton Senna in second place. Third is Stefan Johansson, and fourth, Elio De Angelis. Fifth is Alain Prost, and that was a Ferrari.
Yes, with a completely shredded right rear tire. I didn't see which one it was. We'll soon be able to tell you. It must have been Alboreto. Yes, Alboreto into the pits. I doubt whether that was anything to do. I'm sorry, it's Stefan Johansson. Absolutely, Stefan Johansson in the pits with that right rear being changed. We didn't see how it happened, but maybe it was just a puncture, maybe he's hit something, and of course the tire falls apart when you drive it round a lap on a flat one. And there is Rosberg now looking to consolidate his lead.
And the rear view you just saw there was of the Ferrari. Stefan Johansson rejoining the race, obviously had an incident somewhere, as Keke Rosberg speeds on his way to the end of his second lap in the lead, ahead of Ayrton Senna, who you can see behind him. Third is Alboreto, just coming into view, as they go in through the very fast S's. Fourth is Elio De Angelis, fifth is Alain Prost.
And a little bit of a gap behind them to Nelson Piquet, and then I noticed as they went past us, there was Nigel Mansell in the other Williams making a challenge and looking as if he was going to go past Piquet.
Keke Rosberg, who's now settled down into a little bit of a lead there, he is enjoying the more flexible power of the Honda motor of late. In the early part of this season, the car was extremely difficult to drive. It had a very narrow rev band and made the car very, very twitchy to drive. In fact, in the Portuguese Grand Prix, in the streaming wet, he spun off early on and damaged his thumb. He had to have stitches in his thumb. That, incidentally, is the Vidal corner, the Vidal chicane, rather, that you're looking at, and it's flat in fifth gear. The drivers now have to go down to second gear for the Roma curve before they rejoin onto the main pit straight.
Just going out of your picture then, of course, was Stefan Johansson, who, as you can see, is just under a lap down on the leaders after his quick stop to change the rear wheel. And this leading group of five seems now to be settled fairly comfortably in without anybody seeming to get away. Rosberg in front, he's not being particularly challenged, but at the same time, he's not opening the gap particularly. And I think that the drivers in general will be fairly conservative in this early part of the race.
There's a quick view of the back markers. The Minardi diving through past Jonathan Palmer, under-braking. As we're back with the leading group, Michele Alboreto, the championship leader in the Ferrari, hoping to be the first Italian world champion since Alberto Ascari in 1953, would you believe? James, a little comment about the tyres now, because the Goodyear runners were trying to decide how soft they could afford to go on this very smooth yet abrasive track.
Yes, I think they're split between... There's Elio in the pits, looks as if they're fiddling around in his engine. They've got tyres ready, but when they're fiddling around in the engine, it's usually something fairly terminal, and they certainly don't look as if he's going to be rejoining in a competitive way. Incidentally, Nigel Mansell has moved up past Nelson Piquet into sixth place, as we look again at the leader, Keke Rosberg. And here we have the view from Aino's Renault. From the onboard camera, we can see his carrier. Unfortunately, we've got a problem. You see him closing up under braking there. We've got a bit of a problem with his camera lens. I think the car in front's blowing some oil out and it's getting dirty, so I fear that the next thing they're going to have to develop. Renault's looking for a way to overtake. And there we see him complete the manoeuvre. So that was passing Jonathan Palmer in the Zach speed. So obviously for Grand Prix racing, because it's a problem you get with your visor, a bit of oil and rubbish comes out of the car in front. Of course, you can stick a hand up and wipe your visor. I used to carry a rag between my legs. Some people would take tear-offs for their visors, but they're going to have to find a system to clean the camera lens. Otherwise, by 5 laps following an oily car, we won't see anything. A bit of cling film on the lens of the camera, which Ano can then pull off, and of course, because of the cling film, have all the dirt, and then we can get the lens dirty following that. The only problem is that he has no way of knowing when the lens is very dirty, and so he's just going to have to guess.
Certainly one of the most sophisticated onboard cameras that we have seen. Our friends down in Australia will be saying, yeah, we had that ages ago at Bathurst, mate. But it's the first time that it's really worked in Formula One.
Yes, absolutely right. Grand Prix cars make so much vibration. It has been a big technical problem to develop a camera that didn't shake about all over the place and just give you completely blurred vision. Incidentally, that aerial shot that we have has an interesting thing, because the helicopter, funnily enough, is being driven by Henri Pescarolo, who many of you enthusiasts may well remember as one of the top French drivers in Grand Prix racing and subsequently in long-distance sports car racing. So when we get the aerial shot again, spare a thought for good old Pescarolo.
And we have completed 6 laps of the 67-lap race, the German Grand Prix here at the Nürburgring. Keke Rosberg is still in the lead in the Canon Williams, as you can see. In second place, Ayrton Senna in the Lotus. In third place, Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari. In fourth place, Elio De Angelis. In fifth place, Alain Prost, the man who's second in the championship. And in sixth place now, Britain's Nigel Mansell in the other Williams Honda. Seventh, Nelson Piquet, and the pole sitter, Teo Fabi, is down in 8th place, confirming our thoughts that Pirelli's race tyre is not quite as good as the qualifying tyre.
Yes, because his colleague Pirelli runner Nelson Piquet is 1 place in front of him, and they weren't quite as quick in the warm-up as they had been relatively in qualifying. However, it's still a very definite improvement on the tyre front by Pirelli, and it does seem that they're making progress and improving all the time. Now, Rosberg and Senna have pulled a little bit of a gap to Michele Alboreto, so these two are beginning to... There's Stefan Johansson, of course, remember, after his pit stop, and Johansson's going very well because they're not really catching him, so he's running pretty much concurrently with the leaders at much the same speed, and so that means that in a long race with a few retirements and other things, Johansson is still in a position to stand a very seriously good chance of finishing well in the points.
We've been able to look through our commentary box window at the gathering clouds above the circuit. You can't see them, but it has looked dangerous all day, dangerous in terms of a sudden downpour, but we're hoping that it will stay exactly as it is, dry, and that we'll continue to have a good race. Patrese is slowing down, car number 22. He's down in 16th place.
Yeah, and I think Alboreto is coming under a little bit of pressure. Yes, here they are from De Angelis and Prost. He's losing ground to the two leaders, and I would think that De Angelis and Prost will be starting to get impatient about getting past him. However, those of you who watched last year's European Grand Prix that was here at the Nürburgring will remember that overtaking on this circuit between evenly matched cars is particularly difficult.
That's Jonathan Palmer into the pits in the Zach Speed, which is made not 20 minutes away from this circuit, the Zach Speed factory. But Jonathan has had a very tiresome season this year. It hasn't been good for him. There have been a few engine problems. It is a development year. He's out of the car. So Jonathan Palmer looks like he's retired. That's his race run for today. As we look at the dice for third place, between Alboreto, De Angelis and Prost, it seems that Ayrton Senna in the JPS Lotus has pulled away a little bit. He has a bit of a cushion between himself and third place man Alboreto. A slight puff of smoke came out of Elio De Angelis' car there. You see from the back of the black and gold car. But that's the dice for third place.
Yes, it's beginning to get a bit urgent for De Angelis and Prost to get past Alboreto, because they can see the leaders going away. And it looks like there's a little bit of oil on the right-handed part of that S, but it doesn't seem to be slowing up too much now. De Angelis climbing all over the back of the Ferrari, but remember the Ferrari's got a very powerful engine. And that looks like Nigel Mansell coming into the background, so Mansell is making very good progress. So the two Williamses, Rosberg of course leading, looking pretty comfortable, although Senna's tracking his every move. And Nigel Mansell now moving up, as it were, into the frame. And I can't see who that is from here, but somebody's gone pop.
It's one of the Ram cars with a plume of smoke behind it. They've had a lot of problems this year with their Hart engines, the older Hart engine. That's another early retirement for one of the Ram cars. I can't see who it is, as James said, but he's getting out of the car. The battle for third place. Let me give you the positions after the 9th lap. Keke Rosberg is in the lead in the Cannon Williams Honda. In second place is Ayrton Senna in the Lotus. In third place is Michele Alboreto for Ferrari. In fourth place, Elio De Angelis in the other Lotus. In fifth place, Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren. In sixth place, Nigel Mansell in the championship points in the other Williams Honda. Seventh, Nelson Piquet, twice world champion in the Brabham BMW. Don't forget, BMW are on home ground, so they're going to be trying hard here this afternoon. And Teo Fabi is in seventh place.
Well, De Angelis, and that is one of the Renaults. Again, I can't... And that's Armand Eno, I think. So, a great shame that our nice onboard camera will no longer be available for our use, sadly. We were all very much hoping that Eno would be able to stay in the race. Also, because his camera only looks forward, he was under strict instructions not to overtake too many people, because, of course, if he got into the lead, we would have had very unexciting shots of an empty track. There is Stefan Belloff, of course, driving the new-ish Tyrrell Renault. The first, they've only recently got onto turbocharged engines, of course. And the car really is at the moment sort of developing and coming along, but it shows plenty of potential.
And just for your viewers at home that might have been mixed up by the number situation, on the Tyrrells, you'll notice that Stefan Belloff is in car number 3. That's the number that is usually attached to Martin Brundle's car. Martin has had to revert to the DFV engine Tyrrell. He started at the back of the grid. But there is a FISA rule which says that a driver and team cannot run more than 2 engines in the one chassis during the season. So Ken, in consultation with FISA, cleverly swapped the numbers on his cars, and he won't be in trouble. But Belloff, the German hero, he's driven in Group C for Porsche. And you see him going through the Vidal chicane. That's the Ram is well on fire down there, and it's 14th place for Stefan Belloff. So looking at a gaggle of cars in the midfield, we're back on Belloff again. We do have a German director in charge of the pictures here this afternoon, so you might be seeing a bit of him. In the meantime, there's an Alfa Romeo Eddie Cheever, followed by one of the Arrows. And there we have, that is Philip Alliot, and that's his Ram. Oh, the other Ram's right alongside it.
Yes, formation parking. Well, it's neat, if not quite what the Ram team would have wanted. But for those, we haven't actually seen anything of Niki Lauda in this race, so I just incidentally, I'll tell you that he's running along in 10th place, and a little bit on his own. Right, back with the big battle now for third place, and you see that Mansell is getting ever closer, and Piquet and I think Fabi are also closing up. So the Pirelli tyres that we said we didn't think were quite competitive are now beginning to look very competitive indeed, because the leading group really consists of the cars all the way down to 8th place, because they're all in sight of one another, and Piquet and Fabi have in fact closed up. So Rosberg leading Senna and starting to close up on the back markers and to start lapping the slower cars. That is Martin Brundle, and of course the highly disadvantaged, normally aspirated Ford engine Tyrrell with nothing like the power of these turbocharged cars. But probably would have been very competitive had the track had we had rain, which has been plenty of it this weekend. But at the moment things look all right. The clouds aren't too low, and so at the moment I would say rain is not imminent, although the weather can change very quickly in this mountainous area of Germany. Very beautiful part of Germany, the Eifel Mountains.
That's the German television interviewing Eric Zakowski, the man who's in charge at Zakspeed, as we see Ayrton Senna carving his way back past back marker Hub Rothengatter. Hub Rothengatter has taken over in the Osella from Piercarlo Ghinzani. Ghinzani has been ousted in the Osella team due to lack of funds, unfortunately, so the Dutchman Hub Rothengatter is in, Ghinzani is out. But the latest rumour surrounds Ghinzani and a possible second Toleman team drive. The end of lap 13, it's Keke Rosberg. You can see him, he's in shot now. Keke Rosberg. Second place is Ayrton Senna in the Lotus. Third place, Michele Alboreto. In fourth place, Elio De Angelis in the other Lotus. In fifth place, Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren. In sixth place, Nigel Mansell in the Williams Honda. In seventh place, Nelson Piquet in the Brabham BMW, just ahead of pole sitter Teo Fabi. And for the Brits, Derek Warwick is in 70th place in the Renault. He had a disastrous practice. The rear suspension broke during first practice, and the car spun wildly at over 170 miles per hour. Derek has also, there are other complications. He has a very sore neck from an accident in Spain recently, and he's not sure whether he can get to the finish. Martin Brundle in the DFV-powered car is not in the top 20 at this moment, but then you wouldn't expect him to. Martin wasn't looking forward to driving a non-turbo car in this fast German Grand Prix. Keke Rosberg still in the lead.
Now Senna is starting to climb a little bit round the back of Keke Rosberg, and I'm just wondering what his tactics are at the moment, because... And, oh, he had a look inside. He wasn't quite close enough, but I'm quite sure he took Rosberg fully by surprise, and I don't think Rosberg was expecting that at all. So Senna is now definitely challenging, and I'm a little bit surprised about that. I would have thought that for the time being, he'd be quite happy to keep his boost turned well down, save fuel for now, because it's going to be very critical later in the race, and he doesn't... Well, put it like this, he won't want to be wasting fuel just to fight his way past Rosberg at this stage. He can wait for... He could, I would have thought, afford to wait till half distance or until he gets challenged from behind, and then whack the boost up really hard to make sure of passing him.
One of the accusations which was levelled at Ayrton Senna in the British Grand Prix as he ran out of petrol 6 laps before the end was that he'd actually turned up too much boost. As we all know, you can never fully be sure whether the racing driver is telling you the truth or not, But in this case, we certainly all believed Ayrton, when they finally discovered after the race and the Renault engine was stripped, that the right-hand bank of cylinders had lost all their sensors, which come from the turbo and tell the electronic management system just how much fuel the engine's got to use. Consequently, and there's Senna diving inside, and he's got the lead. It's ahead of Rosberg. That was at the Dunlop corner, the second gear corner. A little hand came out of the cockpit there from Ayrton Senna. Whether he was saying thank you to Rosberg or not, I don't know.
Yes, here we see it again. That would have been an acknowledgement that Rosberg didn't, that he accepted that he was beaten, as it were, in that. You see Rosberg move to the left a little bit when he saw Senna come through, and that would be just a gentlemanly acknowledgement of Rosberg's sensible driving. The both of them, of course, they're both experienced enough now to know that they don't want to start pushing each other off. And Mark's here in the number 2 Brabham. Looks as if that's good night for him. It's being pushed away to the garage, so he can go off and have his early bath.
Rosberg and Senna fighting for the lead.
So Senna now in the lead, but Rosberg doesn't look as if he's letting it go. Look at the heat coming from those turbo engines. You have a lovely shot of the heat haze there above the cars. Go into the corner after the pits. And with all the fun and games up front, they've now pulled out a gap of 7 seconds to Michele Alboreto, who has still got De Angelis breathing right down his neck, and Prost breathing down both of their necks. So good battle for the lead, and a very good battle for third place behind them, which at the moment is being controlled by Michele Alboreto, who doesn't seem to be quite on the pace. He's losing ground slowly but surely to the 2 leaders, and so frustration is bound to be setting in for De Angelis and Prost, who would like to get clear of him and get involved in the chase for the 2 leaders.
Back to the fuel consumption worries. James told you earlier that most of the teams are worried about running out of fuel before the end of the 67 laps of the German Grand Prix here at the Nürburgring. Lotus, as I say, who were told that they had used too much fuel by the Renault people at Silverstone, have got fuel flow gauges on the dashboard. So Ayrton Senna, as he goes past the pits now, will be able to look for a pit signal, which will tell him, give him a number, and it should correspond to the number on the dashboard. If it's well below it, he's using too much fuel. If it's inside it, he can afford to use a bit more boost. So the other thing to say as well is they have finally got a 2-way radio system. Ayrton Senna can talk to Peter Waugh and the Lotus engineers and Gerard Ducarouge, the technical director, and tell them what's happening in his car.
Yes, and this is, has been brought about, their efforts. It's not easy to develop a 2-way radio system that works sort of through hills and things on a racetrack, and of course there's a big noise problem in the car for the driver to hear. I gather that they can hear Ayrton very clearly in the pits. He can't hear them quite as clearly out on the track. But certainly this is going to be very useful. It's something, I mean, that we tried 10 years ago in the dim distant past when I was driving, but we couldn't do it. But we felt it would be of great use for general race tactics as well, because a driver quite often has a lot of questions that he would like to ask the team, which pertain to things that he can see out on the track that they can't necessarily. Meanwhile, they're seeing a lot of things going on in the pits, tire changes and things like that, that the driver can't know about, and he needs information from that. So a good two-way radio system will be a definite benefit, not just for fuel, but for race tactics, tyres, and such like. For instance, when tyre wear is high and they're marginal, the driver could ask the pits what's happened to people who have come in and changed their tyres. Have they worn them out? Is he better off to stay out because you need to do an arithmetic calculation to see if you're being caught? All sorts of useful two-way exchanges can then happen.
And as we look at Keke Rosberg in second place in the Williams Honda, it has just come up that he's got the fastest lap, and that's 1:23. Gone off the the screen again, I'm sorry, but I can tell you that the lap record from last year stands to Nelson Piquet in the Brabham BT53 and Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari, jointly on 1 minute 23.246. They set that on the same lap towards the end of the race, and then promptly both ran out of fuel. But this circuit is an extremely smooth track. The new Nürburgring circuit, 2.82 miles, unlike the old Nürburgring, which was the 14-mile track which climbed through the Eifel Mountains. The last time the German Grand Prix was run was in 1976, and the winner of the Grand Prix is sitting alongside me, James Hunt. He won in the Marlboro McLaren, and it's very kind of him to allow me in here today in place of Murray Walker, and so far he says I've been a good boy, and he's holding my hand all the way.
Absolutely right, Tony. I think you're doing very well. I hope that everybody at home thinks it's going well, because Tony has in fact been thrown in completely the deep end for this afternoon. Murray Walker, of course, as most of you know, is at Silverstone covering the British Grand Prix for motorbikes, and a big day for him and for all bike fans there. And Barry Gill, who was to have taken Murray's place, who's done commentaries before. I've worked with Barry at this event when Murray traditionally clashes with the British Grand Prix, but Barry Gill has been ordered, believe it or not, to rest his voice by his doctors, a particularly big challenge in Barry's case, but if he's watching, good luck, Barry, in trying to keep quiet. And so Tony has kindly stepped in, very much out of the blue, with 3 days warning. Now Senna is beginning to open a little bit of a gap. Rosberg is not keeping up with him. So once again, as we've seen many times this season, Ayrton Senna starting to stamp his authority on the race. And there comes the group fighting for third place behind. De Angelis still climbing all over the back of Alboreto's Ferrari. But we saw this last year when they had the European Grand Prix here in October, that overtaking is terribly difficult here. And it is particularly when you've got a very powerful Ferrari in front of you. Remember that the Ferrari engine is particularly efficient and powerful, so when you get to a straight, you're not going to close up on a Ferrari. And you've somehow got to climb past in the corners.
And that's car number 15. Looks like Patrick Tambay off, possibly out. We'll wait to see if he can restart. That's the Renault RE60B. Patrick Tambay had a difficult practice. His visor's up. He's either waiting for someone to push him back on, or he's sustained some damage. So on lap 20, Ayrton Senna is in first place in the JPS Lotus. In second place is Keke Rosberg in the Williams Honda. In third place, Michele Alboreto for Ferrari. In fourth place, Elio De Angelis and fellow Italian in the other Lotus. In fifth place is Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren. He's second in the championship and obviously straining to get higher up the order. In sixth place is Nigel Mansell in the Williams Honda.
And I saw an ominous puff of smoke then from Alboreto's Ferrari as he rounded that corner. It doesn't necessarily mean there's anything terminally wrong, but he's certainly blowing a little bit of oil out of the engine then on the turn. And that probably won't be improving De Angelis' temper, because I dare say that he's getting a visor full of oil as well. It's just capturing up the gap between Alboreto and De Angelis, but we don't need a stopwatch. We can see what the gap is. It's virtually nothing. De Angelis is certainly going to have to find a way around. In the meantime, again, the problem, of course, it's very difficult from... it's not like it used to be for commentating, because with this fuel consumption formula, we never quite know who's got his boost turned up and who hasn't, because I'm just looking at Alain Prost. He's sitting back off this battle a little bit at the moment, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he just turned down the boost and decided to save fuel, so as others turn theirs down later in the race, he can turn his up. Prost is undoubtedly, or probably the best thinking driver in the business at the moment. He's very fortunate in that there's that puff of smoke again from the Ferrari, But he's very fortunate in that McLaren does have the best fuel gauge, the only one that works really accurately so far. The other teams are all working hard to develop one, and that does give him a big advantage in that he can drive to his fuel gauge and know that the fuel gauge is telling him the truth, whereas and Lauda of course can do the same, but really all the other teams have a fuel gauge but they can't completely trust it. So I wouldn't be at all surprised, as I say, if Prost is just sitting back, saving fuel, getting a little bit in hand for later in the race, because it'll be a lot easier to overtake other people who have been forced to turn down their boosts at that point. And I would have to say that, in my opinion, that would be a very sensible tactic, because if he starts trying to fight his way past now, he's not going to make it, and he's just going to waste fuel.
And on lap 22, to confirm again, Ayrton Senna in the lead for Lotus. In second place, Keke Rosberg in the Williams Honda. In third place, slightly further back, Michele Alboreto for Ferrari, the championship leader. In fourth place, fellow Italian Elio De Angelis in the other Lotus. And in fifth place, Alain Prost in McLaren. Sixth place, Nigel Mansell in the Canon Williams Honda. Seventh place, Nelson Piquet in the Brabham BMW. Eighth place, Teo Fabi, the man who was on pole. Ninth is Thierry Boutsen, the Belgian, in the Arrows BMW. And in 10th place is the current world champion, Niki Lauda.
Well, Prost has now confused me, but although, in fact, I think he's probably made a quick switch of tactics, because he suddenly pulled right back onto the group and even had a little look at trying to catch De Angelis by surprise, going into the hairpin before the pits. So Prost is now decided to rejoin battle.
And there's Nelson Piquet climbing out of the car. Unfortunately, he's not going to make it today. He's not going to be able to add to his French Grand Prix win, nor his fourth place in the British Grand Prix. And as per last year, when Nigel Mansell had to grab the fire extinguisher and put out the fire at the back of his Lotus, this year Nelson Piquet is having to commandeer the safety equipment and do the job himself. What do you think the problems were, James? Could you see anything untoward about the Brabham there?
It looked like a turbo or engine failure, and it was the usual business that when these turbos themselves break, they usually break because they run too hot and they smoke away, and then the oil catches fire. And there we go, and Piquet has successfully given the marshal a lesson and has now allowed him to do it himself. It's not, the marshal was certainly quick on the uptake at getting to the car, but he didn't seem to be very good at working his fire extinguisher, and that really isn't how it should be. Again, the puff of smoke then from Alboreto's Ferrari, but as I say, they carry a lot of oil, these cars, and that's not, you don't need very much oil coming out of the engine in a corner to make a puff like that. So although it's something to watch for, it by no means means that Alboreto is not going to finish, and Prost, and they've really concertinaed up now, and Prost is waiting to pounce on any mistake.
Right, Ayrton Senna still in the lead on lap 24 in the Lotus, and in second place Keke Rosberg, 6 seconds behind him now. In third place, Michele Alboreto, who's had a string of second places this year in the Ferrari. He won the Belgian Grand Prix last year, he's won the Canadian Grand Prix this year, and he's hoping to be heading for his first World Championship title. Fine shot of the Ferrari there. That is the latest Ferrari, which was designed by engineer Postlethwaite, or Engineeri Postlethwaite, to give him his correct Italian title. A man who used to work on the Hesca for James Hunt, and one of those cars that I believe James drove had rubber suspension. One of the tweaks which the engineer came up with. But Alboreto managing to keep his head above water and staying in third place, and as James said, there was that puff of smoke again, and it looks more than just oil leaking out and dropping onto a hot exhaust to me. Then again, I could be wrong, I'm not the expert.
Yes, I mean, it's really difficult to tell. I mean, the only thing that we can be sure of is that Alboreto has got a very minor but unplanned for leak, so we'll just have to keep seeing how he goes there. You see the flame from the turbo. That, of course, is normal with these turbocharged engines. They're big flame spitters out of the exhaust pipe. But things are beginning to get a little bit anxious now. Alboreto is some 12 seconds behind Ayrton Senna. Incidentally, Rosberg is dropping back from Senna and is now some 6 seconds. So he's halfway between the leader Senna and Alboreto heading this group. But if anything, this group is marginally catching. Keke Rosberg in second place.
That group, as you say, are 6 seconds behind and probably closing in quite fast, so we'll keep our eyes open for that. That's the 5th gear Vidal chicane. All 3 guards going flat out through there. Let's just confirm the 1 to 6 at the moment. In first place is Ayrton Senna in the JPS Lotus. And into the pits is one of the Renaults. Second place is Keke Rosberg. Unfortunately, that is Derek Warwick who's just gone into the pits. We'll try and give you some more information in a little bit. He was lying in 14th place. We'll wait and see what's happened to him. In the meantime, back to the leaderboard. First, Ayrton Senna, as I said, in the Lotus. Second, Keke Rosberg in the Williams Honda. Third, Michele Alboreto for Ferrari. And fourth, Elio De Angelis in the other Lotus. Fifth, Alain Prost. And there's the pit scene. Engine cowling is off. There is Derek Warwick in consultation with his engineers, bitterly disappointed. He's had a terrible German Grand Prix so far. He started way back on the grid. He had an alarming practice accident when the rear suspension broke, as I said, sending him spinning off at 170 miles per hour. But good old Derek, he managed to collect it all together, and he didn't hit anything.
Senna with an arm up, so Senna is in trouble. Had a glimpse of that just now. I wasn't sure what had happened, but Senna, his arm up, so he is in mechanical trouble and will almost certainly be coming in to retire, although probably they'll have a look at it first. So really another disappointing race for Ayrton Senna. He's driven so well this year. He's done pretty much everything that could be expected of him, but he has had definite reliability problems. So a great shame that.
So the new positions with Ayrton Senna's visit to the pits means that Keke Rosberg is now in the lead of the German Grand Prix in the Canon Williams Honda. It's at the top of the tree, and that's on lap 27. Second place now is Michele Alboreto, enhancing his championship position. He is 6.2 seconds behind Rosberg, but right behind him in third place is Elio De Angelis. He's also in third place in the World Championship for drivers. In fourth place, Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren, and fifth, Nigel Mansell now into the championship points by 2 rather than 1. He was 6 before. Teo Fabi in the Toleman, the reconstituted and revitalized Toleman team. He is in 6th place. Ayrton Senna is undoing his buckles. He's getting out of the car, and that looks like the end of the race for him.
There's Niki Lauda, by the way, has moved up into 7th place. And Teo Fabi is having a good race after that very disappointing start for him. He didn't get the car off the line properly and lost all the good work of his pole position by dropping back down to about 10th place. He is now in 6th place and challenging Nigel Mansell for 5th. And this race is still absolutely wide open. 28 laps gone, only 15 seconds separating the leader from the last point-scoring man, and that's really as close as we get him in Grand Prix racing these days. And the battle, which is now for 2nd place, is catching Keke Rosberg. Slowly but surely they're getting closer. So it looks as if shortly we're going to have a 4-way fight for the lead. And of course, with Mansell and Fabi not too far behind that either.
And Norfolk's Martin Brundle in the Tyrrell, the non-turbo Tyrrell DFV, is in 16th position, but unfortunately last. And as we look at this dicing trio, Again, that puff of smoke from Alboreto. We begin to wonder just how much fuel they're using. Again, that puff of smoke from Alboreto. We begin to wonder just how much fuel they're using in an effort to stay ahead of each other. Elio De Angelis still looking down the inside. Of course, it's a make-or-break race for Elio De Angelis. If Alboreto and Prost score points today, then it's going to become more of a two-horse race. He was saying before this event that he was anxious to avoid them getting away. He really needs to score championship points today.
Something's happened to Teo Fabi. We didn't see what happened, but he suddenly dropped 4 places, and I would suspect that he's had a spin. We saw his ability to do it, admittedly in the wet, earlier, just before the race started. We had a recording there of the accident he had in practice yesterday, necessitating a great effort by the Toleman team. I can't say how pleased I am. I can't reiterate too much that the Toleman team have done so well. They've struggled. They've had to battle against more than just building a good car. Because they're a little team, they were battled against the constructors and the establishment. Tower companies didn't want to supply them, and it really was a wonderful thing to see them emerge on pole position as it were, completely out of the blue.
And you just caught sight of Martin Brundle there, in 16th position, being lapped by the men dicing for second place. Prost just trying to squeeze past Martin Brundle's non-turbo car as well. Hopefully he's through. Martin Brundle is now going to challenge Hub Rothengatter, the Dutchman, in the Osella. Stefan Johansson in the second Ferrari, meantime, who you saw earlier on with that shredded rear tyre, made a pit stop for a fresh rubber, is now in 13th position. So he's fighting hard. Talking about the fuel consumption, of course, it is proposed that next year the fuel in the cars will be dropped to 195 litres instead of the mandatory 220 at the moment. And that's going to cause teams even more problems. I hope it doesn't mean that we're going to be seeing economy runs rather than racing, which we're still able to see in 1985.
There's incidentally one popular misconception that I've read on this subject of economy runs, i.e. drivers having to turn their boost right down, and there goes that battle for second place, just napping Rothengatter again, and Prost is having a look at De Angelis, but he didn't quite make it. De Angelis was a little bit held up by Rothengatter coming out of the corner before, and it gave Prost a chance to have a sniff, but a sniff was all it was. But there's been some criticism in some areas of the motoring press and even the national press, saying that all these economy runs are very boring, and one has been given the impression that they think that the drivers are also taking it easy. There's Niki Lauda in the pits, so Lauda in trouble yet again. Lauda's really had a terrible season mechanically. He's had lots of problems, but that was tyres by the look of it, unless it's something else as well. But those raised arms mechanics means that their wheel is on and finished and ready to go, but Niki's got more problems than just that.
Well, that was how the German Grand Prix began. Niki Lauda in trouble on lap 30 out of 67. Well, Lauda was able to rejoin, and we pick up the race again now on lap 40, and that very tight order up front remains unchanged.
Williams Honda is now in 5th position. He's about 11 seconds behind Alain Prost at this moment. He has to be congratulated after the problems he had in the French Grand Prix and Detroit. Concussion was received on both occasions. He bravely drove at the British Grand Prix. He's playing himself in very, very nicely. And let's hope that he can stay out there and earn some extra championship points. We just saw a Tyrrell diving into the pits there. It could have been Brundle, it could have been Beloff. We'll check for you in a moment. There's that superb shot down the pit straight with Keke Rosberg. And you can just make out, if you look at the rear wing, there's a slight vortex. You see the stream like it comes off the back of an aircraft wing. Yes, it was Stefan Beloff, and he's in for fresh tyres. Tyrrell mechanics with their hands up, indicating that they've finished their job. And away Stefan Beloff goes to rejoin the race. He had been in 11th position, 1 lap behind. We thought we saw some smoke from some of the cars behind Michele Alboreto. Now, where has De Angelis gone? There he is, in a cloud of smoke. And our eagle-eyed producer spotted a quick whiff of smoke from the back, and there it is, confirmation. Elio De Angelis, for the second year in succession at this Nürburgring track, the car goes up in a cloud of smoke, and undoubtedly that has to be engine.
Yep, that's very much all over for De Angelis. Now that, of course, is fire extinguisher stuff as well. So we'll put the car out before it does too much damage to itself. Big disappointment for De Angelis, though, who's been running very well this season, very reliably, and that will hurt his championship chances, because he now leaves Alboreto and Prost, the people who head him in the championship, out there still very much with a view to scoring some points. So De Angelis will not score any points today, but he, I would think, will be watching the rest of the race with considerable interest.
The man you just saw there was Jacques Lafitte, who has moved into 6th position after the demise of Elio De Angelis. After 40 laps, it's Keke Rosberg still in the lead in the Williams Honda. In 2nd place, Michele Alboreto. In 3rd place, Alain Prost. In 4th place, Nigel Mansell. And I beg your pardon, Jacques Lafitte is now in 5th position. So that means Jacques Lafitte has gone past Thierry Boutsen's Arrows BMW. And we have to say at this point that the Ligiers have been improving over this season. Don't forget that Gérard Larousse and Michel Tetu, who left Renault at the end of last year, have joined the Ligier ranks, and that car is improving with every race.
Yes, absolutely. Lafitte is really coming into some form, but at the moment I think Prost is not very pleased with his fellow countryman, because he would like to get past him, because up ahead Alboreto is getting a bit of space. Boutsen is not far behind in his battle. That's Boutsen just coming into the background there. And Prost pulls out, and he's finally done it. Now, it was a little bit naughty of Lafitte. He really should have let Prost through earlier, because Prost was in... I beg your pardon, that was Niki Lauda battling away, so I've been talking rubbish all the time. And so that was Lauda, in fact, unlapping himself from Lafitte. So I beg everybody's pardon. Lafitte was perfectly justified in making Lauda have to work for it. And there is Prost behind, and of course there is Rosberg, and they have nearly caught Rosberg now. So Alboreto and Prost's raging battle for 2nd place has brought them up to pretty close visual contact with the leader, Keke Rosberg. And it looks as if it's building up nicely for a grandstand finish. Let's hope that we've erred, or the chaps out there have erred on the conservative side, so that we don't have a huge anticlimax at the end when people start running out of petrol. And Prost is right on Alboreto's tail, but coming down the straight, the Ferrari, with its superior power, pulls away, and it's too far in front, as usual, for Prost to be able to challenge into the corner. Prost really needs a mistake from Alboreto, but of course Alboreto is well experienced enough to realise that a mistake is the one thing he mustn't do. A little slip up and have to lift off. He'd rather drive up 9/10 to make sure he doesn't make a mistake and let Prost through, than to go on 10/10 and try and pull Prost round. So the battle for the lead: Rosberg, Alboreto and Prost, pretty much nose to tail. There are just 7 cars in the same lap. Just
7 cars on the same lap. And in first place is still the Finn, Keke Rosberg, driving beautifully in the Cannon Williams Honda V6 engine, which is producing far more power, and it's a much easier to drive car now with the improvements made on the Honda engine. Keke Rosberg, who is 4th in the World Championship at the moment, with 18 points, and there's a fine shot of him now. As you can see the heat haze rising above those cars. 4th with 18 points, as I say, in the World Championship. He was 1st in Detroit, he was 2nd in France after a pit stop, and we were all very impressed with the way in which Keke Rosberg rejoined the race at Paul Ricard. The tremendous sheer power of the Honda engine car as it blasted down the straight, hauled in first of all De Angelis, poured its way back to 2nd position. He was 4th in Canada, and there's Alboreto. He's having a look down the inside of Keke Rosberg. That's down at the 2nd gear corner.
Yes, and here we go. That was a challenge. Rosberg saw it coming, and now Prost's having a look. So the three of them are really getting at it straight away. Rosberg, as they came down to the hairpin, and Prost having another look round both sides, tried first the left, then the right. And again he's trying. So Rosberg shut the door, he moved over, he didn't give Alboreto any space in the way that he'd made that mistake earlier and allowed Senna to pass him. Of course, that no longer... Oh, and Rosberg's all over the curbs, and that would have slowed him down. But Alboreto... Oops, they're going to touch. Oh, and Alboreto was naughty then. I really thought that Alboreto had no business to go through, and he was lucky, very lucky that Rosberg didn't drive into him. And Prost is now climbing all over the back of Alboreto, so this race has really hotted up. So, Rosberg managed to get relegated 2 places in that little incident. It was started when he bounced it on the curbs in the final chicane before the pit's hairpin, and I thought Alboreto wasn't close enough to attack, and I still do. Now, Alboreto coming from well behind. Remember, Rosberg has lost speed, but Alboreto really attacks through there. Now, Rosberg is closing in on him, and how they didn't touch. Alboreto's right up on the curb. Rosberg sees him. They did touch. Then he saw a puff of smoke when their 2 rear tires rubbed, and I have to say that Alboreto was very lucky to get away with that, and it was thanks to Keke Rosberg's experience and gentlemanly style of conduct that they didn't both end up out of the race. So full marks to Rosberg, and I hope that Alboreto will remember to thank him after the race, because he saved both of them then.
Exciting stuff here at the German Grand Prix. As James says, the action is coming thick and fast. And that is the Vidal chicane, where it all happened on the previous lap. Rosberg got it wrong. Subsequently, the other 2 are through. Michele Alboreto into the lead of the German Grand Prix. And that's where he wants to be, up front. And that's Eddie Cheever in the Alfa Romeo. He's coming home slowly. There's a little bit of smoke and also some flames coming out of the back of the turbo. Back with the new leader, the Ferrari of Michele Alboreto. In 2nd place, Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren. And there is Keke Rosberg, relegated to 3rd position. Can he come back and attack them again? We will see. We've completed 46 laps. Stefan Johansson, who, as you remember, pitted earlier on for a fresh rear tyre, is pushing Gerhard Berger, the young Austrian driver in the Arrows, is pushing him hard for 7th position. We've completed 46 laps of this 67-lap event, the German Grand Prix, round 9 of the Formula 1 World Championship. That's the man who's hoping to be world champion at the end of this season, Michele Alboreto, once described by the Daily Mail as a Rowan Atkinson look-alike, which was rather unkind. He certainly is a most gentle and well-mannered man out of the cockpit. But when he's behind the controls of his Ferrari, things change, and as you can see, he's a great racing driver.
Yeah, and by the way, Stefan Johansson has now managed to claw his way past Gerhard Berger, and so he's up to 7th place. They've been having a very exciting struggle, while Johansson has been climbing all over the back of him for some laps now, but he's finally done it. We didn't see that because we got more than enough excitement up front. Now, the Ferrari and the McLaren do seem to be dropping Keke Rosberg a little bit, which is the form one would expect, because after all they had been catching him slowly but surely for a long way. And just at this moment, Alain Prost may be taking it easy on fuel, of course, but he's giving Alboreto a bit of air, but I don't think he's by any means out of it. I think he's probably regathering himself for an attack that will come later.
So the race has got its third leader. Ayrton Senna was the early leader in the JPS Lotus. He retired. Keke Rosberg has taken over, and he's been demoted by Michele Alboreto. Keke Rosberg now in third place. Three different leaders, an exciting German Grand Prix. Still that telltale puff of smoke from Alboreto's Ferrari that we described earlier. It doesn't seem to be getting any worse as he goes through the Roma curve and back onto the start-finish line. Martin Brundle, unfortunately, is in the pits. If we find out why, or we get some pictures, we'll tell you what's happened. Martin Brundle is currently 3 laps behind, and there's Nigel Mansell, the Williams Honda. Nigel Mansell in 4th place, and he's been challenged hard now by Jacques Lafitte. Jacques Lafitte in the improving Ligier. That's on Pirelli tyres for Ligier, and the Williams is on Goodyear tyres. Most of the Goodyear drivers who we spoke to before the event said that they were going to risk it and go on soft C tyres. And in fact, we see that Mansell is on 3Cs, but his left rear tyre is a B compound tyre, slightly harder. So there they are, locked in combat.
Yes, this is another good testimony to the improvement of Pirelli tyres, and it really is good for the business that we should have 2 rival tyre companies involved who are both capable of winning Grand Prix. Pirelli, of course, have yet to do so, but they certainly look as if they're ready to now. It's a very, very good performance from both Ligier, Pirelli, and of course jolly jumping Jacques Lafitte. I beg your pardon, I completely forgot, of course, that Piquet has in fact just had a win at the French Grand Prix at Ricard on Pirelli tyres, so they are already winning. Happily, they look as if they're going to win some more.
Stefan Johansson in the other Ferrari is now past Gerhard Berger, and he's chasing after Thierry Boutsen in the Arrows BMW. It's going to be an interesting battle, and we'll try to keep you in touch with that one. We've completed 49 laps. Michele Alboreto is still in the lead, although you're watching Nigel Mansell and Jacques Lafitte in their battle for 4th position. Alain Prost is in 2nd place in the Marlboro McLaren. 3rd is still Keke Rosberg. 4th, as you can see, Nigel Mansell, and 5th, Jacques Lafitte. 6th is Thierry Boutsen, but he's being chased hard now by Stefan Johansson in the Ferrari in 7th place, and he's looking to add to his World Championship points tally. Nigel Mansell, incidentally, has got 5 points in the World Championship, and you can see Jacques Lafitte closing in there at the Roma curve. It'll be interesting to see if he has a go. That's Niki Lauda. Not to worry, he's a lap down behind Keke Rosberg.
And that, in fact, is a new lap record we just saw captioned there for Niki Lauda. He is undoubtedly the fastest car on the circuit at the moment, but of course bear in mind that he did have a stop for fresh tyres, which gives you an advantage. These big bald racing tyres, the newer they are, by and large the quicker they are, but of course one doesn't set lap records at the beginning of a race because the cars are carrying 220 litres of fuel, which makes them something like half as heavy again as they are at the end of the race. But Niki got fresh ones on when the car had over a third of its fuel load used up. The feet now right on Mansell's tail. Looking to get a good run out of this corner up to the S's and then possibly attack as they go into the pits at the end of the lap.
De Angelis, a good race,
There is Elio De Angelis.
Something went wrong, obviously. What was it? The engine.
Doing an interview.
I was running very, very well. Alboreto was holding up everybody, even if we were getting on Rosberg and Senna. Michele was a bit slow, so he was holding up everybody. But my car was fantastic, really. I didn't have any complaint about the car. The only problem that I had the red light going on for 8 laps, and I know that the end was very, very near. So it's...
You don't know precisely what went wrong?
Yes, I know the engine. The oil pressure went down and the engine just stopped.
Pity.
Very.
Well, that was very democratic of Elio to do his interview in English for us. And there was a bit of a puff of smoke and another puff of smoke from Lauda's car, so he's doing little smoke signals. Sending out a nice, neat puffs, and it's getting bad. Now, I think that is the sort of smoke puffing that looks as if it will shortly be terminal for Nicky. Funnily enough, he may not know it yet, because unless he's looking at his mirrors at exactly the right moment, he may not have seen that, and it's, yes, it's a serious set of smoke signals he's performing. It's happening as he changes gear. Now, back to the battle for the lead. And Alain Prost, who had dropped back a little bit when all the excitement went on, gave Alboreto a little bit of space. It could be that Alboreto, in a fit of excitement and exuberance, had turned his boost up a little bit. But Prost is now right back on his tail, not challenging at the moment, but sitting there ready to mop up any sort of a mistake, any weakness on Alboreto's part. And Rosberg has dropped back dramatically. He's now 14 seconds behind Alain Prost. So Rosberg is obviously more interested in defending his third place. And in fact, Nigel Mansell is catching him. And of course, that means so is Jacques Lafitte. So Rosberg is slipping back into the clutches, or he will in due course, of the battle for fourth place. But these two cars have never been much further apart than this at any stage during this race, with Prost trying from time to time to get past Alboreto. We see they're catching up, 14 laps to go. And I would think that Prost's challenge is going to start fairly soon. Maybe not yet, maybe not till there's 10 laps to go, but we will see the serious challenge coming from Alain Prost, I'm quite sure, in the last 10 laps of the race.
The leaders have now completed 53 laps. Michele Alboreto for Ferrari, the World Championship leader, at the head of the field in the German Grand Prix. But right behind him, in second place, Alain Prost, the Frenchman in the Marlboro McLaren, in second place in the World Championship, a mere 2 points adrift in the World Championship points tables. In third place, and 17 seconds adrift now, is Keke Rosberg. He was leading, took over from Ayrton Senna in the early part of the race. He's now in third position, but being caught by Nigel Mansell in fourth position in the Williams Honda. Right behind Mansell is Jacques Lafitte in the Ligier with the Renault engine, fifth position. Sixth is Thierry Boutsen, and he's in the Arrows BMW. So that's 53 laps of the 67-lap race completed. Thierry Boutsen has visited the pits. And so that means, presumably, that Johansson will have moved ahead. Okay. I've been informed that Johansson hasn't yet moved ahead, but there is a possibility that he will catch him. We're going to look at that gap and keep our eyes on it for you, because championship points are at stake. if we review the situation so far, there are 8 cars on the same lap. There are just 14 cars left, so the field has been decimated. And there, fastest lap again to Niki Lauda, although he's a lap adrift and still blowing out puffs of smoke. 1984 world champion who beat that man, Alan Prost, by a mere half a point in Portugal at the end of the year last year. He is still circulating, Niki Lauda. And don't forget that at the European Grand Prix here last year, it was the penultimate round of the World Championship. Niki Lauda and Alain Prost, the Marlboro McLaren teammates, had their own private battle for the World Championship. The race was won by Alain Prost, and Niki Lauda gave us all a heart attack when he spun off, but regained the track to take 4th position and keep his championship hopes alive going into the last event in Portugal.
And in the background there was Niki Lauda, who is catching the battle for the lead. Incidentally, Nigel Mansell has his big battle with Jacques Lafitte has now carried him up to only 3 seconds behind Keke Rosberg. So that battle is about to be joined. The Ferrari of Michele Alboreto is still puffing smoke, but bear in mind that these cars with these super powerful engines carry so much oil that they can afford to lose the best part of 2 gallons of oil, leaks, or the engine drinking it if it gets a bit thirsty, before the oil level gets too low and the engine can do terminal damage. So this smoke puffing, if it's only an oil leak that it is, it's probably small enough that it's not going to be a problem for Alboreto. It's a question of whether it's puffing smoke for another reason. If it's just, as I say, dripping oil onto an exhaust or something, it's not going to be a problem. And the same could apply to Niki Lauda.
And Terry Bookson from the Arrows BMW, after his pit stop, is now only 6 seconds ahead of Stefan Johansson. Stefan, the man who filled René Arnoux' seat in the Ferrari team from Portugal onwards this season. He's renowned for his hard-charging drives. He's had 2 second places already this year. He, unfortunately, nearly won his first race at San Marino, but he ran out of fuel just after he passed Elio De Angelis in the dying laps. So he was frustrated. He didn't make his first win, but he first drove a Grand Prix car in 1980 when he tried to qualify a shadow in the Argentinian Grand Prix. And since then, Johansson's been in and out of luck. It's the same again today. He had a puncture early on and he had to visit the pits, but he's clawing his way back through the field, and we suspect he might get some championship points, or at least one for his efforts.
And Nigel Mansell is now right on the tail of teammate Keke Rosberg. And of course, Jacques Lafitte is right on Mansell's tail, so not only have we got a tremendous battle for first and second, we've also got a big battle for third, fourth and fifth. And that battle, incidentally, is some 26 seconds, 27 seconds roughly, behind the battle for the lead.
There's Niki Lauda. He is hoping to unlap himself, of course, from the leaders who you just saw go past. The man who just flashed past the screen there was Gerhard Berger. He's one of BMW's protégés. He could also get in the way of the leaders in a while. He is a very fast driver, but he needs some fine honing. He needs some of the rough edges taking off him.
Yes, and we just had a flash as the battle for third place went past the pits. It looked as if Rosberg was slowing, and in fact, Lafitte and Mansell are ahead of him. And there's Rosberg into the pits and out again. And Jacques Lafitte appears from our chart to have got ahead of Nigel Mansell.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't see that on the screen. Perhaps we'll get a replay, we don't know. But there is the leader coming up upon Gerhard Berger. And now, there's Prost. No, there's Prost.
And Prost, something's happened. We missed it with Prost, but Prost has had a spin. He's spun on, I suspect, challenging Alboreto. And so the McLaren that went through a little bit further behind was Niki Lauda's. Prost is still in a very clear second place, but he would, I suspect, I said he was going to make his challenge in the last 10 laps, and I think just as we've got to 10 laps to go, he made his challenge, and it would appear that it was probably a bit over-exuberant. Now, the cameras were busy elsewhere at the time. Whether we're going to get that on action replay, whether they recorded the incident or not, we just have to hope that they did, and we'll be able to see what happened.
The results after 58 laps, positions rather. Michele Alboreto still ahead in the Ferrari. Second place, Alain Prost. But according to our monitor and our lap charter, Mike Dukes, who's urging me to tell you that Nigel Mansell has gone into third position in the Cannon Williams Honda. So he's repassed Jacques Lafitte, who is now fourth. And fifth is Rosberg, who's rejoined after his pit stop. We think for tyres. And Rosberg is about 15 seconds adrift currently. Michele Alboreto lapping Martin Brundle again. And
now there is just a chance that if Lauda keeps his head down in the cockpit, he might be able to make Alboreto think that he is in fact Prost, because he was far enough behind for, although I'm sure the Ferrari pit are being very careful to warn Michele that he in fact doesn't have to hurry, but I'm quite sure that doing his job for the team, which Niki certainly would be, giving all the help he can to Prost, will be trying to pretend that he's Alain Prost, and therefore keep the Ferrari pushing hard to try and make him run out of fuel, because Prost is some 20 seconds adrift. That's what the spin cost him, and that is how it happened. We see Prost challenging and spinning off. There he goes, whoops, he's pirouetting around rather elegantly to do a further U-turn. A lot of grass and rubbish on those very hot, sticky tyres, so it loses a bit more time while they clean up.
the seesawing effect is going on down the field. Lafitte has repassed Mansell for third place, so Mansell now drops to fourth. Fifth is Keke Rosberg, and sixth Terry Boutsen in the Arrows. Seventh, Stefan Johansson. Eighth, Gerhard Berger. Ninth, Niki Lauda. 10th, Stefan Beloff. And there's the leader, Michele Alboreto. He's completed 60 laps. So there's 7 laps to go.
I strongly suspect that Michele Alboreto won't bother to fend off this challenge from Lauda. He will know by now, he'll surely know that Lauda is only trying to unlap himself, and I expect that he'll let him go, well, he didn't let him go then, but he won't want Lauda charging around, bouncing around in his mirrors behind him all the time. He'll probably be a lot happier. He knows he's got still a comfortable 20-second cushion to Alain Prost, who is in second place, and I'm quite sure that Prost will be now concentrating mainly on consolidating that second place, getting 6 points, and really won't be taking any risks to try and chase Alboreto.
And as you're watching now, that is Niki Lauda trying to unlap himself. Leader Michele Alboreto unperturbed, but meanwhile in the background the German director is missing a tremendous battle between Jacques Lafitte and Nigel Mansell. They're the best of friends on the golf course. They play a lot of golf together, but they're firmly locked in combat today. And currently it looks like Mansell, who's back in third place. So we're hoping very shortly to be able to show you pictures of that. It's certainly been an exciting race so far. We just saw a quick view in the background there of Stefan Johansson's Ferrari. Meanwhile, in front of our commentary position, Lafitte and Mansell thundered past. And Niki Lauda has unlapped himself. Five laps to go for the leader, Michele Alboreto.
So a fine drive by Lauda. He's fought back after his pit stop with the help of some fresh tyres. He's been the fastest car on the track consistently for the whole of the second half of the race. And there is a Williams going into the pits. And it's Keke Rosberg. He's been in once for tyres, and he's in again, so that looks bad news. But good news for Lauda. Lauda was in 8th place. That will push him up into 7th place, so Lauda could certainly score points. And in fact, I don't know why Lauda is now in 6th place.
So Keke Rosberg into the pits. We'll wait and try and find out what the reason is. Lap 61. Michele Alboreto in the lead. Alain Prost still in 2nd place. Nigel Mansell 3rd and Jacques Lafitte 4th. Keke Rosberg into the pits. Lauda in 6th place. Solitary championship point to add to the points he gained. 4th place in San Marino. His only other finish this year.
And it's a great shame that the director hasn't picked up this battle, because Mansell and Lafitte have just thundered by side, battling away, swapping places, and really they're having a tremendous ding-dong, and it's a great shame that we can't see it, because Alboreto, a fine driver and an attractive car, though they might be out there, are really very boring, just driving around all by themselves. And it'll be much more fun to see the battle.
Leader of the German Grand Prix, Michele Alboreto, still throwing up that little puff of smoke as he goes through the Roma curve. But hopefully for him, he's on his way to victory. He's won once already this year in Canada. He's been 2nd on 4 occasions. In Brazil, in Portugal, Monte Carlo, and at the British Grand Prix. That flash of flame was nothing to worry about. I suspect that was the engine just on the overrun. But Michele Alboreto has got 3 laps to go. 3 laps before the checkered flag, and to consolidate his lead in the World Championship. Alain Prost, who's in 2nd place, is 16.8 seconds behind him. And there's Nigel Mansell and Jacques Lafitte. So if we can stay there for a little while, perhaps we can see some good dicing.
So Nigel Mansell currently holds down the pace, but Lafitte's having a look again. And Mansell was being very careful to shut the door then. So they are really driving tactically to each other at the moment. They've got maybe immediate evidence. And there goes Lafitte going through. Got the inside, Mansell responding around the outside. Tremendous dice this is, tremendous stuff. The feet, there's a little bit of a twitch there as he unstuck the back wheels. Remember, these cars are running some 750 horsepower or so it's not difficult to over-squirt it. Here we see again how the feet got out of that corner a little bit quicker, managed to get down the outside of Nigel Mansell and then hold the inside line for the next corner. Stefan Johansson, who has been going pretty well since his pit stop, has now run into some sort of trouble. He's now slowed right down, is limping around and has limped his way out of any potential points. He's in 8th place at the moment and, as I say, slowing down. I'd really like to battle again, but Nigel Mansell seems to have slowed down a bit, so it's quite possible that Mansell is in a bit of trouble, and it could well be that he's had to forego the battle to try and preserve what would now be 4th place by conserving his fuel over the last couple of laps.
There's Michele Alboreto coming up to lap the Minardi, which is still going for a change. The Minardi had a massive accident on the first day of practice. But there's Alboreto leading the German Grand Prix. In 2nd place, Alain Prost, who is 15 seconds behind him in 2nd place. Had 3 different leaders of this German Grand Prix: Ayrton Senna, Keke Rosberg, Michele Alboreto. As we look at Stefan Bellof, the German driver, his first drive in the turbocharged Tyrrell. And I suspect the leading Ferrari has now gone past the Minardi. Luigi Martini. Alboreto first, 2nd Prost, 3rd Jacques Lafitte, 4th Thierry Boutsen, and Nigel Mansell's now been in 5th place on our monitor, so Nigel is slowing right down. Obviously got some kind of problem, and he's hopeful of struggling to the finish. He's had 2 5th places already this year. Let's hope he can hang on after such a great drive. There's the Ferrari. They complained during the French Grand Prix and the British Grand Prix of a lack of straight line power, blamed on the ignition system. Stefan Johansson and Michele Alboreto said they've ironed that out. And it was certainly the fastest car through the speed trap. It looks like it's ticking over fine at the moment, and should get Michele Alboreto to the finish in his 2nd win in the 1985 Grand Prix season.
Yes, Alboreto has obviously turned his boost down, cut his revs to save fuel, because he's allowing the gap to Alain Prost to come down fairly steadily, but he's in no danger of Prost, unless, of course, he hasn't conserved enough fuel already. Prost will be enjoying the luxury of his fuel gauge and probably going as hard as he reasonably can without taking any real risk of running out of fuel. This is rather 6 points short.
Alboreto on the last lap. And there's his pit crew anxiously awaiting his return safely to the pit lane, and he's taken the victory. The hand is aloft. Michele Alboreto wins his 2nd Grand Prix of the season. He won in Canada. He is the winner of the German Grand Prix. He hasn't even bothered to do a slowing down lap. He's turned right in at the end of the pit lane. Perhaps he was short of fuel. We'll find out later.
There's a lot of the drivers now, after Prost was disqualified for being just a kilo or a kilo and a half underweight in the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola earlier this year. A lot of the drivers, because the fuel still counts if there's any in there as the car's weight, unlike a few years ago when they had to be pumped dry of fuel, they stop anyway across the line. It doesn't necessarily mean he's run out of petrol, it just means that he wants as much of everything in the car as possible when it gets to the weighbridge. So Jacques Lafitte has just crossed the line in 3rd place.
And 4th, Thierry Boutsen. Those are his 2nd championship points of the year. Now we're just going to wait and see. And there's Stefan Johansson sending out a lot of smoke. Presumably he's blown up at the end of the race. Let's see if Nigel Mansell's going to come across the skyline there and take place. No, Niki Lauda instead. So Mansell hasn't appeared yet. So we think currently the 1 to 6 is 1st Michele Alboreto, 2nd Alain Prost, 3rd Jacques Lafitte, 4th Thierry Boutsen, 5th Niki Lauda, and we're waiting and hoping that Nigel Mansell will come home 6th.
And I can confirm that Nigel Mansell did get that 6th place, so the full result of the German Grand Prix: first Michele Alboreto, second Alain Prost, third Jacques Laffite, fourth Thierry Boutsen, fifth Niki Lauda, and sixth Great Britain's Nigel Mansell. And it all means that Michele Alboreto strengthens his lead at the top of the World Drivers' Championship after 9 rounds. It's Alboreto with 46 points, Alain Prost 41, Elio De Angelis 26, then Keke Rosberg, Stefan Johansson, Nelson Piquet, Patrick Tambay and Jacques Laffite. And this is how the Constructors' Championship stands. Ferrari well in command, leading from McLaren